Rally here at sunny downtown Lake Goldsmith. And the theme for a whole host of company names is our theme for this 124th rally. Our Grand Parade will start in about 10 minutes time, and which we will have a very wide range of equipment, tractors, cars, bikes, you name it, it usually turns up in our Grand Parade. But while we're just waiting for that, if you look right down at the northern end of the arena, you will see our two big face shovels down there. The rail crane, the 60-ton Bucyrus rail crane, an American-built machine which was very, very rare to come into Australia back in early times, because as being a Commonwealth country, we just about imported all of our steam equipment and our machinery out of England, of course. South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and that other overseas country, Tasmania, all got equipment out of England, and it was unusual. Although we did have Case, Buffalo Pit, and of course Bucyrus come in from the US of A. Both of those machines work together down at Geelong in the cement works. So if you're driving around the Geelong Ring Road and you look out to your right at Syonsford and you look in that big hole, both of these machines worked alongside one another down at the cement works at Geelong. The Ruston, the grey machine, is a 90-ton face shovel built by Ruston in England, came out to Queensland, to Mount Hope originally, and levelled the top of Mount Hope, then was sold by the mining company up there and was then transported down to Geelong Port and was then transported out in pieces to Syonsford, where it was put back together and was still in active use up until 1973, when here at Lake Goldsmith it was pulled apart again and transported and sat just up here at the top end of our arena for many, many years as a working exhibit. Both of those machines are the only two working in the world. The Bucyrus 60-ton rail crane is the only one working in the world, and the Ruston is the only 90-ton face shovel operation. Now is owned by Caterpillar. So Bucky Russ, as we call it, but Bucyrus Caterpillar. And we were very, very fortunate in the restoration of this. We had to build a new bucket and dipper arm. It was scrapped a long time ago, and Caterpillar came up with the drawings for it. They found them in their big library and museum in America, and they gave us a copy of those drawings and helped get that bucket and dipper arm all made, which was made here in New South Wales. Yes, that's right, Australia. We used to manufacture stuff, ladies and gentlemen, and build it. That's why we were known as the clever country for such a long, long time. Anyway, our Grand Parade will be underway shortly. Grab yourself a great vantage point. I hope you're having a very, very enjoyable day here at Lake Goldsmith.
Here's another to the Grand Parade. Thanks.
Well, a very good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 124th Lake Goldsmith Steam Rally, Day 2 Grand Parade. On behalf of our President, Mr Phil Smythe, the committee, and our members and exhibitors, welcome to Lake Goldsmith. If you've never been before, we believe this is one of Australia's best kept secrets. And what we're going to do today is lead off our Grand Parade with a bit of steam. And the first engine coming out is an engine, it's a Ruston Proctor, and it's already received a telegram from the Queen. It's well over 100-year-old, 1908 model, and Lincoln Lady. And this machine was bought and restored by the Miles family from just out of Christchurch, New Zealand, flying backwards and forwards across the Tasman twice a year. Over a period of time, about 8-9 years, they have restored this engine to what you see today. It was completely really scrap metal, and they've done all the work in-house here. The other thing is what they have shipped backwards and forwards from New Zealand to their own workshop. They've cast gears, done all sorts of things to restore this engine. This size engine would have been brought into the country here in Australia by a council, local government or federal government, and then eventually worked their way back into private contractors' hands, where they did road making, shaft cutting, thrashing, you name it. That was the sort of thing these engines performed around, well, virtually up and down the eastern seaboard. A lot of modifications were done to the engines out here in England, where they were designed a colder climate or a milder climate, not as much dust. A lot of these engines have exposed bearings and all sorts of things, and they smothered in oil, so what they had was dirt attracted to them and it became a cutting compound. So they would design different type bearings to try and keep that sort of thing from happening. Vasey Lady. This would be a Kenworth 909 heavy haulage unit in modern day terms. 3-speed road loco, they get along at about 18 mile an hour. Burrel, they have a sprung front end to dampen when they're doing those sorts of speed. A heavy haulage unit. This unit worked out of Hamilton, Casterton, Vasey, Mount Gambier, down to Warrnambool, and did a lot of heavy work around that area. It belonged to the late P.K. Brown of Casterton, and it sat as a piece of scrap in his yard and was sold at auction. The Miles family, again out of New Zealand, this was one of their first purchases here in Australia, bought this engine and over 10 years restored it. It is one of 2 left in the world. Very, very rare. Young Ryan up there at the moment, Ryan Miles driving it, who has come across from New Zealand this rally. We're down a few of the Kiwis at the moment. A Z7 ploughing engine. What a history this engine's got in Australia. This is one of the engines. They are bought in pairs, left and right hand. Big winch underneath, and they pull a balance plough, scoop, scarifier, you name it, delver. And this engine here was one of the engines that put in the Murrumbidgee irrigation scheme, then was bought by the Melbourne Metropolitan Board of Works, where they put in all the channels and everything down past Werribee into the Werribee sewage treatment plant down there. And if you drive along the Maltby bypass, going from Melbourne to Geelong, you see that big open cut channel that's still there. This engine was one of the engines that put it in. Its mate, unfortunately, is buried somewhere on the farm. So this engine ended up at the Melbourne Science Works Museum. And if anybody who's been to the Science Works Museum knows that this engine is not going to work in that quadrangle. So it's now been here at Lake Goldsmith for 25 years. 25? I'd be close. It'd be close enough. We'll run with that. And of course, it's up here and you can see 30 tonnes. And of course, In the big scheme of things, that's a very small ploughing engine. Ottomeyer, a big German company, build 100-ton versions of those, and built some only 15 years ago. Was the last pair they built, Ottomeyer in Germany, to do a big job. I'm going to say the Ukraine, but somewhere in that block of countries. Ruston Proctor, little engine here, little 4-horse, pony's helper, horse's helper. A lot of these in Australia were used to help get bullock teams and horses up over steep pinches. They are a versatile little engine. You can drive with a belt pulley on them, they shaft cutter, small thrasher, etc., little rock crusher, but they were known in this country as a horse's helper. A Burrell, another one. A Devonshire engine, a compound. Now, if we look at the little Ruston there, in energy efficient ratings, it's most probably half a star. This one most probably comes in at maybe 3 stars, because a compound engine uses the steam that's provided by the boiler multiple times. So in other words, in modern day terms, it's like supercharging or turbocharging the engine and using the fuel more efficiently to get maximum power is the easiest way to describe it. Aveling Porter Roller. I don't even have to describe what this is. Would have come out from England. Road making, footpath making, would have been brought in by a government or a local shire municipality, country roads board back in the day. And then of course, after they finished with it, found its way into private hands.